Welcome to Mediocre Main Character. Today I'm continuing the Darcy saga of Matches and Matrimony. Chapter 13. I think we need to top up our energy a little. Let's rest. And then just build up our reading and arts. And go visiting, because we're really not kind enough. Okay, let's go. Damn! I read the most recent book by Oscar Wilde today. Though he's quite intelligent, I find many of his ideas revolting. Yikes! Weekend. An unwanted proposal. Proposal? Today marked the beginning of my last week at Hunsford. It certainly hasn't been the boring trip I had anticipated it to be. In fact, if anything, there's been little too much intrigue, making it quite the adventure. And you don't even have your sisters with you. Still, I find the lack of civility wears on my sensibilities and makes me anticipate returning home, even more than would usually be expected. Yeah, it's Lady Catherine. She is just a boring windbag. However, before going, I'm determined to get the most out of all that Rosings has to offer. It's a beautiful morning. Perhaps I should take a tour of the park. Yes. Yeah, right? Oh, why is it a choice? I don't know. You know what? What happens if we go? I want to go outside. That's so nice. I walked a path I'd walked several times while at Hunsford, enjoying the great park at Rosings, and I was just rounding a bend when I saw Colonel Fitzwilliam. I did not know before that you ever walked this way. I've been making the tour of the park, as I generally do every year, and I intend to close it with a call at the parsonage. Are you going much farther? No, I've just turned towards Hunsford as well. It was nice to be walking with the Colonel. His ease made being near him comfortable. Do you certainly leave Kent on Saturday? Yes, if Darcy does not put it off again. But I am at his disposal. He arranges the business just as he pleases. And if not able to please himself in the arrangement, he has at least pleasure in the great power of choice. Wow, okay, we still think he's an uppity guy. I do not know anybody who seems to enjoy the power of doing what he likes more than Mr. Darcy. He likes to have his own way very well, but so we all do. It is only that he has better means of having it than many others, because he's rich and many others are poor. I speak feelingly. A younger son, must be inured to self-denial and dependence. In my opinion, the younger son of an earl can know very little of either. Yeah, because back in the day, if you're the younger son of a titled person, you don't get that title. It only goes to the eldest. Now, seriously, what have you ever known of self-denial independence? When have you been prevented by want of money from going wherever you chose, or procuring anything you had a fancy for? You are right. Perhaps I cannot say that I've experienced many hardships of that nature. But in matters of greater weight, I may suffer from want of money. Younger sons cannot marry where they like. What? Wait a minute. Surely Colonel Fitzpatrick isn't a love interest, right? For just a moment, the Colonel let his gaze rest on me, giving me reason to believe that his remark might, in fact, be in regards to me. Anxious not to allow the conversation to tend in that direction, I pushed it forward into another path. Unless where they like women of fortune, which I think they very often do. Our habits of expense make us too dependent, and there are not many in my rank of life who can afford to marry without some attention to money. Yeah, Colonel, we get it. You need a rich... I imagine your cousin brought you down with him chiefly for the sake of having someone at his disposal. I wonder he does not marry to secure a lasting convenience of that kind, but perhaps his sister does as well, for the present, as she is under his sole care. He may do what he likes with her. No, that's an advantage which he must divide with me, for I am joined with him in the guardianship of Miss Darcy. Poor girl, Georgiana. Raised by her older brother and cousin. Jeez. Are you indeed? And pray, what sort of guardians do you make? Does your charge give you much trouble? Young ladies of her age are sometimes a little difficult to manage, and if she has the true Darcy spirit, she may like to have her own way. Oh. The Colonel did not respond directly, leading me to believe that my offhand remark had, in fact, been close to the truth. I felt it my duty to speak next, in order to keep the Colonel from feeling uneasy or obligated to reveal something he wished to keep secret. You need not be frightened. I never heard any harm of her, and I dare say she's one of the most tractable creatures in the world. He's a very great favorite with some ladies of my acquaintance. Yeah, the Bingley sisters. I think I've heard you say that you know them. I know them a little. Their brother is a pleasant gentleman-like man. He's a great friend of Darcy's. Yeah, he is. Bingley's awesome. Oh, yes. Mr. Darcy's uncommonly kind to Mr. Bingley and takes a prodigious deal of care of him. Care of him, yes. I really believe Darcy does take care of him in those points where he most wants care. From something that he told me in our journey hither, I have reason to think Bingley very much indebted to him. But I ought to beg his pardon, for I have no right to suppose that Bingley was the person meant. It's all conjecture. What is it you mean? It is a circumstance which Darcy could not wish to be generally known, because if it were to get back to the lady's family, it would be an unpleasant thing. The lady's family? My mind, which had been straying a bit as we spoke, suddenly became quite alert and focused. Could this be in relation to Jane? Is this why Bingley and his sisters left Netherfield? With Mr. Bingley involved, it certainly might be. I needed to know more. You may depend on my not mentioning it. And remember that I have not much reason for supposing it to be Bingley. What he told me was merely this, that he congratulated himself on having lately saved a friend from the inconvenience of a most imprudent marriage. But without mentioning names or any other particulars, I only suspected it to be Bingley from believing him the kind of young man to get into a scrape of that sort, and from knowing them to have been together the whole of the last few months. Did Mr. Darcy tell you why? I understood that there were some very strong objections against the lady. What? Jane is an angel! With the time period related matching the time we were together with him, and being able to readily believe that Mr. Darcy would have objections to our family, I was quickly sure that Jane was indeed the person of whom we were speaking. However emotion-filled I was, I needed to remain casual, or it might lead to my revealing of more than I would intend. And what arts did he use to separate them? He did not talk to me of his own arts. He only told me what I've now told you. I thought over the situation again and again as we kept walking, my heart swelling with indignation. The colonel noted my determined silence, and I'm sure he felt that something was amiss. He seemed rather thoughtful. I'm thinking of what you've been telling me. Your cousin's conduct does not suit my feelings. Who is he to be the judge? You are rather disposed to call his interference officious? I do not see what right Mr. Darcy had to decide on the propriety of his friend's inclination, or why, upon his own judgment alone, he was to determine and direct in what manner his friend was to be happy. I might have stated my case with more emotion than I intended, but was able to recollect myself before continuing. But, as we know none of the particulars, it is not fair to condemn him. For how could we suppose that there was such affection in the case? Yeah, we don't mean it, but we're pretending like we give Darcy the benefit of doubt. That is not an unnatural surmise, but it is lessening the honor of my cousin's triumph very sadly. Feeling I could handle no more discussion on the topic without revealing some of what I'd been feeling, I abruptly changed the topic to more trivial matters. I decided to think more of Jane's situation only when I'd reached the solitude of my room. Yeah, you don't want to let anything slip. We're back home. The inconvenience of a most imprudent marriage that Mr. Darcy had saved a friend from must have been referring to the marriage of Jane to Mr. Bingley. There could not exist in the world two men over whom Mr. Darcy could have such boundless influence. It makes sense, because remember when we were dancing with Darcy, and Lady Lucas made this little tongue-in-cheek comment about, guys, brush up your dance moves for Bingley and Jane's wedding. He paled. He was traumatized. The very idea disgusted him. So it all makes sense now. That he had been involved in the measures taken to separate Mr. Bingley and Jane, I never had doubted, but I had always attributed to Miss Bingley the principal design and arrangement of them. However, if Mr. Darcy's own vanity did not mislead him, he was the cause. His pride and caprice were the cause of all that Jane had suffered and still continued to suffer. He had ruined for a while every hope of happiness for the most affectionate, generous heart in the world, and no one could say how lasting an evil he might have inflicted. There was a very strong objection against the lady, were Colonel Fitzwilliam's words. I could only believe that the strong objection was her having an uncle who was formerly in trade. They're talking about Lady Lucas's husband, Sir William Lucas. He was a tradesman before he became knighted. The agitation and tears which the subject occasioned brought on a headache, which grew so much the worse towards the evening that I felt it impossible to attend Rosings that afternoon. Oh, Collins, please, not today. Cousin Mediocre, are you quite ready? No, I am unwell this evening. I do not understand how that could be. Lady Catherine will be rather displeased by your staying at home. Go away. I don't want to have tea with her, damn. I'm sorry, I overheard you were feeling unwell. Thank you, Charlotte, for the compassion. Charlotte looked me over and quickly decided I was truly unwell and quickly became an ally for my freedom. We shall explain the situation to Lady Catherine. Charlotte, I'm certain Lady Catherine will be displeased if Miss Mediocre is not in attendance. My husband, we must leave now. Classic Collins. He doesn't care if we're alive or dead, as long as Lady Catherine's happy. With Mr. Collins and Charlotte out of the house, I moved to the parlor to further think on the situation of my sister Jane and to read the letters that she had sent me. But they're all sad. Though I told myself reading of her letters was done only to remember her, I knew I was truly examining them to see if there was any other evil I might reasonably attribute to Mr. Darcy. While doing so, I was roused by the doorbell. To my utter amazement, I saw the man himself walk into the room. Miss Mediocre? Mr. Darcy? I understood you were not well and called to inquire about your health. Are you feeling any better? I shall improve, but have not yet. Why are you here? I'm sorry to hear it. After the reply, he sat down for a few moments, and then getting up, walked about the room. I had no idea what he was doing, but with not the slightest inclination to know, I said not a word. Yo, if you want to be weird, you be weird, but I don't care enough to ask. After a silence of several minutes, Mr. Darcy approached in an agitated manner and thus began. In vain I've struggled. It will not do. My feelings will not be repressed. You must allow me to tell you how ardently I admire and love you. What? The words that spilled out of his mouth could not have been expected on any account, and my incredulity at hearing them left me too shocked to make any sort of response. He took my lack of response as encouragement. I have long felt for you a tenderness and love of affection that cannot be quenched, though I have long tried to do so. Your family and standing in society create great obstacles with me and my family, obstacles that call for me to position my desires elsewhere. However, in spite of all my endeavors, the strength of my love and attachment for you is simply impossible to conquer. My heart and soul ache with pain, and I find myself unable to overcome the emotions that have long kept me from acknowledging my regard for you. This is not the kind of love confession you think it is, Darcy. I am now surrendering to this love in the hope that this action will be rewarded by your acceptance of my hand in matrimony. Though he noted the need for acceptance in what he spoke, he clearly had no doubt to a favorable answer. His countenance expressed nothing but security. Yuck! Yuck! Mr. Darcy just waltzed into our house, well, Charlotte's house, and basically said that, yo, you need to marry me because I can't stop thinking about you. I know that you and your family are beneath me and my family, but I just have feelings for you, and I can't seem to shake them. I tried, trust me, I don't want to be in love with you. I tried my best, but since I can't fight it anymore, what do you say, girl? Want to get hitched? Bro. And then he thinks it's a yes from us for sure. I am not marrying you, you douche. But it is incumbent upon me to save and play both. I'm going to accept him now and see what happens. When I first met Mr. Darcy, I could not have imagined being his wife. In fact, it is still hard to believe so now. Though I do not love him, he professes to love me. This is up there as one of the worst endings, right next to Wickby. Oh God, no, it's Collins, Wickby, and then Darcy. Though his actions have never been a testament to this inclination, and indeed his words have suggested his pride is offended at his own feelings, yeah, he's ashamed to be in love with us. It is a very prudential match that will greatly increase my consequence in society, so we've become one of the girls that he was avoiding all this time. Title hungry, money hungry. Of course, I have in the past always questioned the value of rank in society, but I've reconciled myself to its merits. Cool. So we've had a personality transplant. I did feel he was sincere when he said that he felt an ache for me that he felt he must surrender to, and I could not but feel an obligation to care for him. Few people can say they've been so desired and needed. But he doesn't show it in his actions, girl. He just keeps telling you, yeah, I love you. Though I remain a fierce critic of Mr. Darcy's prideful behavior, I believe with time the love that he says he feels for me will be shown through his actions, and I will then have a loving husband who happens to be wealthy, instead of having a wealthy husband who once proclaimed that he loved me. Sad. Congratulations, you've completed your story and unlocked ending 4, Mrs. Darcy. Yeah, this is no way the actual ending. This is not possible. It wouldn't be a love story for the ages if this was the ending, right? But this is what would happen if we accepted his proposal. It was strange to marry Mr. Darcy after disdaining him so. Though due to his wealth I had access to anything my heart might desire, I found myself unable to access his heart, which was the only thing that I did desire. He was pleasant to me in private, but it soon became clear that Mr. Darcy was ashamed of being seen with me in public. Oh! His pride, which he had overcome to the point of asking for my hand, had not been fully conquered. He remained its slave, and so I found myself often at home alone as he began to take trips to London with increasing frequency. Separated from my former friends and family, and seen by those in my new class as an undeserving fortune hunter, I had little conversation outside of the servants. Though society saw me as the ruin of Mr. Darcy. Oh my, every paragraph, it just gets worse. Oh God, though society saw me as the ruin of Mr. Darcy, I held out hope for the love I saw when he proposed to me to rekindle in his heart, and someday fill his days and mine with unconquerable joy. No. Hell no. So cute. Okay, back to the game. So there you have it, folks. That's one of the most depressing endings ever, and surely not the actual ending. So stay tuned for the next part where we conclude the tale with an actual, proper, deserving Darcy ending. Thanks for watching if you did. See you next time.